What's up, everybody? It is Red back with you to review the latest pro wrestling news as hot of wrestling. Wednesday, yeah. What's up, everybody? It's Red Jet on a Monday. We are back with a little bit more of Layin Da Rant Down, the weekend rants where we talk about industry news, opinions on and predictions on big shows. We didn't get a shot at Layin Da Rant Down yesterday. I actually was out of town for the majority of the day. I was with my mama on her birthday, and things got a little late in the evening with everything. Didn't get a chance to get this rant off, but I thought I still need to get another Layin Da Rant Down off because there's so much news industry-wise in the world of wrestling this past week that it definitely warranted a double shot of Layin Da Rant Down this week. So let's get into it in a moment. I want to give you all a heads up that I am just finishing and compiling the details on the Backlash Mega Rant and what a Mega Rant that is going to be later on this evening. We're going to break down every little nook and cranny, every bit and piece of that pay-per-view, that awesome pay-per-view from San Juan, Puerto Rico. All the details behind it, including live attendance. WWE put out a press release today touting a bunch of different statistics. We're going to talk about the road agents for each match, my thoughts on each match, my thoughts on the pay-per-view, thoughts on the crowd. It was a great show. I'll talk about it later, but that may have even eclipsed either night of WrestleMania in terms of just pure enjoyment on a just a fan level. I mean, wow, I really wish I could have been at this show. The crowd was unbelievable. But let's back it up a little bit and let's get into the news of the day. And one of the big items that's coming through here is, what did I just push? Wow. All right, let's try that again, folks. Here we go. Raw World Heavyweight Championship Tournament details. We talked about it over the weekend. They had not even announced the competitors yet at that point. Now we have a lot more information coming through the pipeline. Not only do we know who's on Raw and SmackDown on both sides, but we also know the matches that are going to happen tonight on Raw in just a few hours from now. So if you haven't heard about that yet, let's get into it. First and foremost, if you haven't heard much about this tournament, I'm sure everybody that's watching this has. We know the details now pretty particularly. 2 triple threat matches tonight on Raw. The main event of tonight's Raw will be the winners of those triple threat matches. That winner of the main event tonight goes on to Saudi Arabia, Night of Champions, on the Raw side for that one-on-one match for the World Heavyweight Championship, that new belt that was crafted just for this situation. On the SmackDown side, also 2 triple threat matches. The main event on SmackDown will be between those 2 triple threat match winners. The winner of that match takes on the Raw winner in Saudi Arabia on, I believe, May 27th at Night of Champions. The information is as follows for the competitors. On the Raw side, we have Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura, and finally The Miz. I was putting these things together. I don't think I would have put Miz in there, but is what it is. We'll talk about a name that was very clearly admitted from this list in a moment. SmackDown side is as follows. We got Sheamus, Rey Mysterio, Edge will be doing basically his first match on SmackDown sometime at some point this Friday in these triple threat matches. Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, and finally, making his return to the ring, AJ freaking Styles. So, we also know, courtesy of PW Insider's Elite subscription, they dropped some information that we'll see if this ends up being legit, because you never know with Raw these days. things can change on a moment's notice. Vince McMahon seems a little more hands-on with the Raw brand. So some of these things could change at a moment's notice, the matchups, etc. But according to Mike Johnson at PW Insider, these are the two matches tonight, triple threat style, for this Raw tournament. Damian Priest against Seth Rollins against Shinsuke Nakamura in one match, and Cody Rhodes against Finn Balor against The Miz in another. Breaking those down, I think it's easy to predict and expect Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins as the main event of Raw tonight for that shot at the new gold belt in Saudi Arabia. I think definitely Rollins will probably go over Priest in that triple threat, and then I think Cody will probably go over Miz in the other match, so we get Rollins and Cody tonight. I think we're going to see Brock Lesnar interfere in the match at the end of Raw, costing Cody the match and the opportunity to move forward, and Seth Rollins gets the win. That's just my feeling, because Cody has gone over Rollins, I believe, 3 times, has it been? I know for sure 2 at WrestleMania and Hell in a Cell, but I think there was a third match in there in that program that Cody went over. So I think it's time for some parity in booking, and you put Rollins over. In fact, I think Rollins is probably going to be the first guy to get this belt, chances are. Over on the SmackDown side, these are just speculative predictions on my end, but I think we probably will see these matchups on SmackDown. AJ Styles against Austin Theory against Bobby Lashley. The easy to put Lashley and Theory in a match together falling out from Backlash. And then the other match would be Edge against Rey Mysterio against Sheamus. We'll see if they go in that direction. If they do, I think AJ Styles and Edge seems a likely final main event on SmackDown. I would say AJ Styles goes over. He's back. It's been a while. It's time to really light a fire under the booking and get him in a good spot. So I think they're kind of probably eventually, not too long from now, are going to try to put him in against Roman Reigns. That's just my thought looking ahead. So then in the finals, my prediction would be Rollins and AJ Styles. There are some rumors that may be the direction. We'll see where they go with things. But conspicuous by his absence in these 12 competitors is one particular guy that was drafted on Raw, and that is Drew McIntyre. You might wonder what is going on here. McIntyre hasn't been on either show in quite some time, and he's been on the outs. There's some thoughts that maybe he's nursing some injuries. And then there's another train of thought that he is not happy with the direction that he's in the company. His contract is up sometime this year. He may be sitting out. That there may be that much conflict going on here. So the question remains, will Drew McIntyre be leaving WWE? And obviously, if that happens, I think he's AEW bound in a hot minute. We'll see where they go with it, but conspicuous by his absence, he should have been listed, I would say, instead of The Miz on the Raw side, Drew McIntyre. So we will see where they go with things with McIntyre as time progresses, but at least for a few weeks here, word is he's still going to be off Raw. Okay, another big update on All in London. A lot more numbers have come through. I did some reading in the Wrestling Observer newsletter this weekend. There was a lot of interesting data from the Observer and from what's come out over the weekend. As we know, tickets are well over the 60,000 mark at this point, and according to what is available left on the market, there is under 1,000 tickets available on just Ticketmaster, Live Nation, things like that. I think they may open up even more if those tickets sell out. There is an opportunity for Wembley Stadium to get upwards of 80 to 90,000 people into this bad boy. So we'll see where they go with it. As of right now, over 60,000. Overall, gate, money-wise, we're looking at about $7.5 million, I think, is what I heard on the last number. This has already become the largest non-WWE pro wrestling gate of all time, folks. It also, just for history's sake, it has beaten not only the attendance record, but the gate record from WCW days. The actual attendance record was set in the Georgia Dome for Goldberg and Hogan. That was on a Nitro, I believe, of July 1998. It also beat the overall financial gate. That was also at the Georgia Dome for WCW Nitro on January 4th, 1999. It's the infamous Finger Poke of Doom show. And ironically enough, that show had the largest gate in WCW history at over almost $1 million. International-wise, it also beat the best gate in Mexico, which was for the first Triple Mania. That was rumored to be around 48,000 in attendance for that one. So that has blown all them by the wayside. Also, best first day ticket sales at Wembley Stadium. Wembley Stadium's previous record was SummerSlam 92 for that. It has blown that first day ticket sales away. I think the first day ticket sales for SummerSlam 92 is somewhere around 50,000 if I recall. It still has a way to beat the total attendance for SummerSlam 92. I speculated earlier on another rant that there was some conjecture that maybe the paid attendance was maybe 65, 70,000, maybe 75,000 for SummerSlam 92. According to Dave Meltzer, the paid attendance for SummerSlam 92, just for FYI, 78,927. So, AEW has quite a ways to go on that. We'll see if they beat that mark. They very well may not. If they sell out this thing at Wembley Stadium, you know that will beat that mark. Probably by at least 5,000, maybe more. And some other records to talk about. It actually beat the total attendance as well as first day ticket sales for Clash at the Castle, WWE's pay-per-view from last year. It's a big, big deal that they beat WWE's mark on those. It also beat both nights separately attendance for this year's WrestleMania in Los Angeles. That's also a really impressive stat. It's nearing or perhaps eclipsed WrestleMania 35's overall live attendance number of about 63,000 paid. So we're getting awfully close to that one. There's a few more benchmarks that it can potentially beat here. We'll see as terms of WrestleMania numbers go. Another big WrestleMania number was WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. That was the paid attendance of 66,700. I think AEW has a chance to beat that one. As far as the overall all-time record attendance, for the longest time, we're aware of WrestleMania 3. That realistically was only about 75,000 paid. WWE inflated it, of course, as we know, to 93,173. That was not an actual attendance record. It was more around between 70 or 80,000. So, All In still has some time to maybe beat that number for WrestleMania 3. And the all-time attendance record is WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. That was a paid attendance of 79,800. As we know, WWE inflated that to like over 100,000, which that was not a legitimate number. But this is the legitimate number, pushing 80,000. So the question remains, without any matches announced, will All In London surpass any of these barometrics that I just talked about? Time will tell. Time will tell. One thing is for certain, I don't think it has a chance to beat the gate record. I actually don't think, logistically, even if they sold out the show, I don't think they would beat the all-time pro wrestling gate record, which is, get this, $17.3 million once again for WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. So lots of numbers being thrown out. We'll see where things go with All In London, but right now we're hovering between 60,000 and about 65,000 for overall ticket sales for this huge mega event in August. Let's talk about more AEW news. This came through the weekend as well from the Observer. And also Andrew Zarian of the Observer, I think, initially reported this. But AEW Dark, as well as Dark Elevation, both, they were YouTube shows that really weren't gaining any traction. From a perspective of being at a lot of live AEW shows, I'm not a fan of them watching these matches live in the arena as well. They're very vanilla, very drab, very to the point, kind of quick matches, a lot of squash matches. Long story short, both of these shows have been officially canceled as part of the deal with Warner Brothers Discovery and part of the deal with AEW Collision coming on Saturday nights on TNT. I think I previously talked about maybe that Collision was going to be on TBS. That is not the case. It's earmarked for TNT on Saturday nights. So what does this mean for the tapings for AEW down the road? Well, just this past weekend, AEW taped, I believe, like 4 weeks of Ring of Honor TV. We're going to actually talk about that at the end of this rant, because there's some spoilers from Ring of Honor from this past weekend in Orlando at Universal Studios that's worth talking about. But Ring of Honor, around the middle of June, is going to become a part of the taping with Collision on Saturday nights. Then on Wednesdays for Dynamite, as it already kind of normally is happening, but Rampage will be taped after Dynamite consistently. But no more Dark tapings, no more Dark Elevation tapings, so that will kind of make the tapings, particularly on Wednesday, be a little more to the point, I guess you could say, because sometimes we would get like an hour to maybe an hour and a half of AEW Dark tapings prior to Dynamite, and sometimes that burns out the crowd. So as it is now, it appears that the shows will probably kick off on taping-wise on Wednesdays right away with Dynamite. You may have a couple matches prior to that just to get the crowd kind of going a little bit, but that appears to be the plan. With Dark Elevation canceled, we're not going to have any more YouTube-based weekly shows from AEW other than like Being the Elite and things like that, but in-ring wise, it's gone. AEW on Wednesdays, Dynamite and Rampage, and then the plan from June onward is AEW Collision Saturdays with Ring of Honor being taped as part of that tapings. So just a quick heads up on that information, as it just got dropped this past week that both of those shows were thankfully canceled. I think that's a good move by AEW, and you can focus all that talent over on Collision, over on Dynamite, and then I heard that Rampage may change a little bit into like Dark Elevation a little bit, and I hope that's not the case, because you got to keep some interest for Rampage going. I say keep it that way it's been going. I liked this past Friday show, for example. I thought that was one of the better Rampages in a while. So just a heads up on that news going forward for the future of AEW. And then finally, we have, as promised, some Ring of Honor spoilers from Universal Studios in Orlando this past weekend. They taped Saturday night and Sunday night. And if you don't want to know any of these spoilers, get the fuck out of this rant right now. And this is going to be the end of the rant, so you won't miss anything else for information. Let's talk about Saturday's Ring of Honor spoilers. I don't have the entire list. You can go online to see that. These are just the highlights that I saw upon looking at these spoilers. Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta won a match over Titus and Tracy Williams, Rhett Titus. Those were the former Ring of Honor tag champions, so this continues to move forward in the idea of maybe the BCC trying to get in and take on FTR. I could see that happening, maybe even at Double or Nothing. We'll see where they go with it. It depends what's all planned for the Elite and the BCC. Time will tell on it. Also, Samoa Joe went over Blake Christian. Here's an interesting match. Willie Mack over Ninja Mack. And in the Sunday tapings, both Macks actually worked as a tag team, I believe, against the Workhorsemen. So there you go. Athena went over Sky Blue. They've been promoting this on TV a bit. That was for the Women's Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. defended the New Japan Television Championship over AR Fox. An interesting angle came out of this, which appears to be maybe leading into Forbidden Door. But Samoa Joe came out and confronted Zack Sabre Jr. in a battle of television champions. So that's why I think that match is probably going to be on its way, maybe at Forbidden Door, a champion versus champion match. Maybe. We'll see where they go with it. But then after those two confronted each other, Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels came out and laid the challenge down on those two world television champions with the caveat or the gimmick attached to the match that if Daniels or Sydal would be either guy, they would actually get a championship match against the person that they beat. Looking ahead on Sunday, that match does happen, but Joe and Zack Sabre Jr. actually win that match over the two baby faces. Mercedes Martinez returned against Ashley D'Ambrose. And in the main event on the Saturday taping, I got an itchy mask today, folks. Action Andretti and Darius Martin went over the Kingdom in an Honor Without Rules street fight match that had been built up a little bit on ROH TV this past week. So be on the lookout for that in the next couple weeks. That big match that finished off night one in Orlando of Ring of Honor tapings. Let's go into the Sunday tapings real quick. Ray Phoenix went over Gringo Loco. I'm looking forward to that match. Debuted a tag team called the Iron Savages. I've not heard of them. We talked about it prior. Samoa Joe, Zack Sabre Jr. went over Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels in a match I'm looking forward to seeing. Some teaming up, some pairings at this taping. The Righteous pairing up with Stu Grayson. They've been teasing that. It appears that Grayson is probably going to turn on the Dark Order and join the Righteous in some fashion. Also, Shane Taylor and the Workhorsemen were featured a lot in both of these tapings. And one match that was strongly teased at these tapings was the next challenge to Athena's world title, and that is Kiera Hogan. Also, at the end of the Ring of Honor taping on this one, it was a match with AR Fox, and I think it was JD Drake, and maybe the other guy from the Workhorsemen. I think it was Anthony Henry. Anthony Henry and AR Fox have a match. Somehow there's a melee ensued. JD Drake shows up, Shane Taylor shows up, ruckus ensues. FTR run in to make the save, so they made an appearance, given that they are kind of fading in and out a little bit of Ring of Honor stuff. And I feel like they're teasing something with Claudio and Yuta against FTR. Maybe we'll see that on a Ring of Honor episode of some sort. I don't know. Maybe we're going to see Claudio and Yuta against the Lucha Brothers instead. That's very well possible as well. But FTR ran in here to make the save for AR Fox. And then also Eddie Kingston showed up and made the announcement that he's dealing with a hernia situation. He's going to be out about 6 weeks. So a lot of stuff came out from Ring of Honor this past week. This should be, I believe, about 4 weeks of tapings, which lines up just about with about the time where AEW Collision would start and those Ring of Honor tapings would start on that particular Saturday night. Apparently, Collision is supposed to be set for live every single Saturday night. Wow. All right, that's a jam-packed edition, once again, of Layin Da Rant Down. Come on back later on. I'm going to try to get my Backlash Mega Rant on a Mega Rant Monday in right before Raw starts later on tonight, so be looking on for that sometime this evening, where we're going to be covering everything about that awesome pay-per-view from Saturday night. All right, see you right back here for Mega Rant Monday Backlash, right here, Wrestling Wednesday.